I think there is a chance, but only if we begin to look at the root causes and not simply look at getting into a ceasefire. I think that if we're going to be serious about this, the issue of Israel's 45-year military occupation, its denial of freedom to the Palestinians, and most specifically, its 6-year-long blockade over the Gaza Strip are issues that need to be put on the table and need to be resolved immediately in order for a ceasefire not only to take hold, but for it to stick.
Well, Israel would say that a crucial issue is its day-to-day security, because we do know that hundreds of rockets have been fired from Gaza towards Israel in the course of this year, 61 just today, despite everything that's happening.
Yes, and there's also been more than 500 bombs dropped on Gaza in a 24-hour period. I think it's important to keep in mind that one is being carried out by a state, Israel, which is one of the strongest militaries in the world, gets a lot of diplomatic support by both the UK and by the United States, as well as military support by the United States, as well as financial support by the United States. And the other is a refugee, stateless population. One is being occupied by the other. Israel's doing the occupying. So if we want to be serious about looking and moving ahead, we've got to start addressing the occupation. We have to start addressing the Israel's denial of freedom of the Palestinians. Otherwise, we're just going to try to look at this as some sort of back and forth, but we're never going to resolve this.
But I don't think anyone ignores the fact that there's a bigger dimension to all of this. But from the Israeli point of view, why should they talk about the Palestinians' long-running grievances when they feel that they're under threat every day?
Because the two are precisely linked. The fact that Israel is now facing rockets comes from the fact that the Palestinians are under a blockade and been under military siege. The two are intricately linked. Israel's issue of security is very intricately linked to the Palestinian denial of freedom. And if we want to move ahead, we've got to look at focusing on both sides of that equation, not just focusing on the security side of things. But even going back to the security side of things, Israel, as the occupier, has a duty not only towards the Palestinians, it has a duty to protect the Palestinians and not bomb them. So I think that we also have to be putting our pressure on Israel to make sure that it abides by international law. This isn't a context in which there are two equal sides and there just happens to be a war. This is a context of occupation in which Israel, as an occupier, has very specific duties towards these Palestinians.
Okay, Buttu, thank you for joining us.